Hello everyone, it is Caitlin, and today we are making all sorts of things really. An 1830s writing case from the Workwoman's Guide, putting together an 1840s through 1860s writing box, and also making 5 different pen wipers because why not? Alright, to start this project we're going to make some ink. So I think this is from Townsend's, but it's just walnut ink, and it says 4 ounces of warm water to 1 ounce of holes, which I'm going to double a recipe because I really need to practice my handwriting. Oh, it isn't. It's from John Neal Books. Okay. I don't remember. I've had this for so long. And 2, that's about 1/4 of a cup. Which that is plenty. But anyway, yeah, I need to practice my, not necessarily my handwriting so much as staying on a straight line. So yeah, I'm going to make something to practice. We're going to leave this for about 2 or 3 days. It says the longer soak means darker color, so you definitely want a darker color. So we're going to leave this for a while we work on the rest of the project. And now that we have set our ink to seep, let's start working on the Workwoman's Guide traveling portfolio. So I actually decided that we're going to do this, and we're also going to put together an 1850s and 60s writing case, mostly because I need to go through that, and there's like nothing, and I have a writing case, like a wooden one, for that era, but it's like empty, and we need to go through it and like put some things in it. Anyway, so we're going to start with this one though. And I have most of the things that are going to go on here already to kind of see how it is going to lay out. And this is just bookboard, which is exactly what the Workwoman's Guide calls for. Let me just read you the directions real quick so that you actually know what we're talking about. It says Traveling Portfolio, Plate 24, Figure 41, which is this right here. Okay. It says, this is convenient for traveling when there is not sufficient room for a desk. It is made of card or bookboard and covered with black silk or paper. Under the part marked A is the portfolio for paper, and the 2 parts being connected together by means of a wide ribbon all round. The 4 flaps lay over and tie across with ribbon. On part A there are places for sealing wax, pencil, pens, knife, and paper knife, all in one. And at the corner a piece of ribbon sewed into a circle and made to draw up like a bag to contain wafers. Okay, so theirs is going to be a little different than ours. I'm going to add a few things to mine because I feel like there's a few things they didn't mention that I'm going to need if I'm going to be using this as part of a living history demonstration. So first of all, it says sealing wax, but it didn't say anything about your actual seal. So already that needed to be added. I also added tapers. This is not something that I can specifically document to the 1830s yet. I'm working on it. But in the 1850s it mentions for sealing wax, I think it was in Miss Leslie's guide to something or another, to light this instead of just the match, and then hold it over and melt your sealing wax that way, so your fingers don't get burnt, which I kind of like that idea. So can definitely document it to 1850. A little earlier than that I'm kind of digging to kind of see, but anyway, I'm also going to need a spot for nibs. This is not the container I'm going to use, obviously, because it's plastic. We're going to make a little bag for nibs, like it talks about the bag for the wafers. We're also going to do a bag for nibs. Matches, I'm going to need that to melt the sealing wax. A pen wipe, which this is not the pen wipe we're going to be using. I'm going to make a new one. This is one, I just wanted to see the size. And then we are going to make a bag for sealing wafers as well. So that's kind of how it's going to be set out. I'm going to need to cut a piece of bookboard. Now this one is already 12 inches square, and I'm going to take 2 inches off one side, and I have a separate one here so I don't have to mess with my pretty one that tells me exactly where everything's going to go. So there's that now. So this is the size we're going to use. So now my piece is 10 inches by 12 inches. So I do have black silk to cover it. Now obviously the directions said you could also use paper, which is a fine choice. Obviously it's documented. However, I'm thinking about things like dripping wax and ink getting on paper is going to run the paper, the color's going to run off, and silk is going to be a little bit more durable, I would feel. So I did have black silk here. And as far as making the paper part that it talks about, I think I can cover this all around with black on both sides, and then on the back make another, y'all can't see that, and on the back make another layer of silk to kind of do the pocket. I don't want to do the pocket on top, which is where I'm going to put these, because I just feel like it wouldn't be very secure that way. I want the paper on the back of the board. And of course there are no dimensions given whatsoever, which I guess is kind of nice because I can kind of play with it for what I need and have all pieces that I need, but still at the same time it's kind of nice to have dimensions every once in a while. Alright, I'm going to make this just as wide as this piece. And it's maybe here. Yeah, and it would fold over like this. That would basically go over half. I think that would be good for this side. Okay, so here's what I think I'm going to do, because the directions are kind of skimpy. What I think I'm going to do is cut a piece of silk that is this square here. So basically the two rectangular flaps and the center part. Okay, I'm also going to cut one piece of silk that is this whole length, and then one that is just this, basically the 10 by 12. I'm going to lay this one down. I'm going to lay, of course, the black on top of here, and then I'm going to do this one underneath, sew those together, and I'm going to put this one over the bottom, and that will create a little pocket because I can stitch it on this side and not on that side, and that will create a little pocket. I think that shall work. I'm going to iron all the pieces that I cut very quickly. I think that's the best first step. Alright, so it got ironed down to the size that it needs to be, and then I went ahead and took a strip 2 inches wide, folded each edge in 1/4 inch, and then folded the whole thing in half. And I got this lovely little 1/2 inch wide thing. I did 2 of them. The engraving only shows one, because these are just, they're too tall for just one strip. They would be flipping and flopping all over the place. So I did 2, and I'm just going to take these out, put them back in the order that I had them. You can come out. The wax is kind of sticky. Which I made my own sealing wax from a period recipe, and that video will be coming out next week. And there. So now I have this piece. I'm going to do a back stitch to attach all this, because that is a very secure stitch. And with me pulling things in and out all the time, I want to make sure it's extremely secure. So you'll have a nice little line of stitching there. And I'm going to start on this side. So while we're doing that, we might as well, since it's all just hand stitching, put in the little wafer bag. The more I put in there, obviously, the more wafers I can fit. I have about 3-inch space I could use, so the base can be 3 inches. So, okay, that's math I wasn't expecting to have to do today. So the base is 3 inches round, and I want it to close. So it needs to be at least 2 inches on either side of that, which is a 7-inch circle. That'll also give me some poofiness to hold the wafers. Let's try a 7-inch circle. So it'll fit right here, and I'll do a back stitch all around in a circle. And go ahead and fold these under twice to make a casing for the ribbon. And I'm going to do the same thing for the big one. That's going to go right here. Alright, let's go ahead and put ribbon in our little cases here, I suppose. Yeah, find the end. Here it is. And that should be more than enough. I can cut it down if we need to. Let's do the other one. Alright. Let's make these a little smaller for right now, but they will definitely close up. That one looks really good. I did end up cutting that one down about 3 to an inch on, all the way around. It's pretty big. That'll work. Perfect. let's go ahead and work on the pin wiper that's going to go into this one. Alright, we're going to make about 4-inch square. Alright, let's look at the pin wipe. I'm going to need a 4-inch circle, because that's how big I want this to be. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a square, and then we'll cut it into a circle in a moment. I also have scallop shears. They're kind of like pinky shears, so they're scallopy and not, you know, what you would normally consider pinky shears. And the original I'm copying had little scallops too, but I think we're just going to do a circle today. Alright, and then I'm going to do a brown one. That's about 3 inches. Okay. And then we're going to do another green one that's 2 inches. I'm going to use a little stitch and just stitch all through these layers. I'm just going to put a couple of stitches right in the middle to hold all the layers together. In fact, we might as well go ahead and sew it onto this while we're here. And then I have this cute little charm of a turtle. So that's kind of the original I'm copying. It has a turtle on it. Theirs is a little bit bigger, but for a small little case like this, I thought this was a very good size. It's ceramic or resin or something like that, and of course painted. So it's not plastic. It's not identical to the original, but it gives the same essence. And I'm just going to use probably some gum Arabic glue, because that's what they would have used, and it's very flat on the bottom. So I can just glue him right on. I don't know which direction he should be facing. I think he should be facing the rider. Kind of like that. So we have all this together. That's going to fit there. So I have this piece that belongs here. It goes this way. And we're going to start just kind of stitching it on. We're not going to put the ribbon on there yet. We're just going to stitch it on and move all of this. So this is the first step. We're going to go ahead and take our needle, and I think I'm just going to whip these two pieces together to kind of hold in the book board. I'm going to do that all the way around. All this is going to be covered up with ribbon anyway, so I don't have to worry about my stitches being neat. I just need them to hold everything in place. This is also going to be my writing board, so like when I write I can turn it over and actually use this as a flat surface to write on if I need to. Alright, so there is that put together. Let's go ahead and put the ribbon around it. I'm going to iron this ribbon in half, which is going to be the easiest way to do this. And I'm going to first put a section across here and stitch it on in here. And then we're going to do the whole square together and just hide the raw edges of these within that. Alright, so we have the last piece here that I am just finishing up. Putting the ribbon on with the running stitch. Okay, so I am going to stitch this together. I'm going to stitch it along this edge, and this edge, but I'm going to leave this edge blank because this is going to be my pocket that's going to hold my paper. Alright, let's start assembly. So I have here some gum Arabic that I'm mixing up. It's almost dissolved. Exactly where I'm going to stick the turtle right on top. Here we go. So now he's there. I think about 3 is good. We'll put the wafers in there. Alright, I'm going to pick out the wafers that are mostly flat, because they kind of crisp up really well. They're a little thicker than I would prefer. They're not bad, particularly for a first time. Yeah, the blue ones turned out the best. They didn't quite curve like most of the other colors did. Not nearly as bad. And again, I'm uploading the video of where I made these and the sealing wax as well next week. Let's start putting the rest of this where it belongs. There we go. Of course, now I gotta remember the exact order of all this stuff. I think I'm going to put in the blue one, not the yellow one. There's one pin. I have another pin on order, the bone one, so we're going to skip a space. And do the one. I made a nice little cover for the match case off an original. I'm going to tuck it underneath here, that way it doesn't kind of fall out. And, oh, paper. Which can just go right in here. And so all we have to do now is wait for that one pin to come in, and then this piece is done. Alright, so there's that. Holds it very securely. I'm going to go ahead and fix this pin wipe since we're here talking about pin wipes anyway. This is a plastic button. And I'm 95% sure that these are not correct felt. I did a workshop one time, and it was just to kind of show us how things were put together. So these are good. These are from a period, I think 1850s or 1860s pattern, and they're crocheted with cotton. So I'm going to accept that. That's fine. I am going to cut little circles from felt. So this is wool felt. Which is another reason the blue ones weren't quite right. Because all the originals I'm seeing are scalloped, not bandite. Now I'm going to take them and fold them into fourths. I'm just going to do a couple of quick stitches. I'm going to do the same for all of these. Sticking them together while I sew them. Okay, so it's laying a little flatter. And then I'm going to take these and stitch them right on the top and bottom. Now, I have these cute little squirrels, and I can put all three up there with gum Arabic. Squirrels seem to be very popular for pin wipes. You see them quite a bit. You'll see them stuffed with wool, made with pine cones and other things, and of course ceramics occasionally. So we're going to let that dry, and that'll be my main house one. And we're going to make one more pin wipe later. It turned out really cute, and they are staying, so that's good. This is actually my favorite type of pin wipe that I have used so far. Because it's really easy just to stick a pin in there and wipe it off and then bring it back out again. You see these quite frequently in originals. Maybe not as frequently as I've seen like little animal ones, but it does show up quite often. I've seen them with just like a flat felt piece on the bottom, and then these in alternating colors, so like two of them would be blue and two of them would be brown or whatever, and then a little tiny like mother of pearl button on top instead of anything else. So you can make them quite simple, or you can make them more elaborate. I just really like this type of pin wipe. Yeah, because it is really easy to wipe things off in. But yeah, it does work better if it's black. However, I've been looking at a lot of originals lately, and like only half the originals I'm seeing use black. The Victorians loved color, and even though all the advice columns were telling them to use black for their pin wipes, you know, black just doesn't look as good on a writing table. So, yeah, you do see black pop up quite frequently. It's definitely less messy. It looks nicer. The pin wipe keeps longer because it looks nicer. But definitely not a requirement. Not like they all did it. So, you made the little squirrel one. Turned out super cute. I had a hard time deciding what I wanted to do for the traveling 1860s case. I found one from 1865 that's beaded strawberry leaf with a little crochet strawberry. And I started thinking, well, what about an acorn one? Acorn would be cool with the same pattern, but doing acorns. Turns out there is a pattern for that. It's from 1868, but taking this exact design. So I might try both. The 1868 one's a little later, but instead of copying the 1868 pattern, I would copy this, but just do it in oak leaves and acorns instead of strawberry leaves and strawberries. But we're going to do both of them, so I'm going to go ahead and pin my pattern. This is from Godey's Ladies Book, and it very specifically said that the pattern can be cut from the engraving and is the exact size. I'm going to cut them slightly smaller than the green one, so I don't want the black to show. Alright, I'm going to use some chalk to mark out where I want these lines to go. So I want strawberries in the middle, and I'm thinking 3 strawberries instead of the 1 it shows, because that's kind of cute. Alright, while we're waiting here, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the oak leaf one. So I printed out some little oak leaves, and I'm just going to cut these out. And I'm going to make it exactly the same way as the strawberry one. And when they're done, I'm going to decide which one I like best, and the other one I can give to a friend. I've been working on crocheting the little acorns, and so I got them. And I'm going to use real acorn tops. We're going to glue them in just like that and have our little acorns. And I think they're a good size. My second one turned out a lot smaller than the first one, which I'm okay with, because acorns aren't usually perfect either. So I have a smaller one and a bigger one. This is kind of how I did it. So I have my brown yarn, or this is crewel wool, C-R-E-W-E-L. That's what I use for Berlin work, actually. And I'm going to make a chain of 4 and slip into the next one, and slip into the first stitch. So I'm going to single crochet. For us, it's single crochet. In the period, they would have called it double crochet because you pull your hook through the yarn 2 times, and so that's how they measured it. So we're going to go, we should end up with 4 single crochets. Now we're going to increase in each stitch, so we're going to end up with 8 stitches. So now we're going to single crochet across twice, or around twice, so it's 6 inches per round, or it's 8 stitches per round, it'll be 16 total, so I'm just going to count off 16. I'm going to pull the bottom part and kind of check it. I think I want about 2 more single crochet rows for this one. Okay, so now we have like a little bag. We're going to stuff this. And I just have a bag of little scrappy bits. I use the scraps from the felt that we pulled apart, and also some wool scraps that I had. This should take a little bit. Now stuffing it can get kind of difficult because it's such a tiny little hole. And then we're going to decrease. So I decrease every other one, basically, until there's like only a couple stitches left. So that just means skipping. Leaving all these ends to make that easier. Alright, camera died for just a second, so I went ahead and I pinned these together exactly how they should be when they're done, and I cut 2 pieces of black, roughly the same size, and I sewed the top 2 together using a buttonhole stitch. Today we call it a blanket stitch, but they call it a buttonhole stitch, and I did the same thing with our strawberry one. So, and I also did finish one of the strawberries. See, isn't it cute? I would have preferred to use white beads, I think, but Godey specifically said yellow, so I did yellow. I'll go ahead and show you how I'm doing that. I have some gum water here. I'm kind of dissolving. I'm going to put the acorns inside their little holes. Alright, we're going to let those dry. I just have a length of thread that is roughly the same color as your strawberry. Pull it through to hide the knot. And I have little yellow seed beads. And you want to put the stitch down about exactly where you put it in. Just a couple times here. I went through each edge here. Make sure to stitch that down pretty heavily. And then we have 2 little strawberries, which I think is enough for this because they're a little larger on the larger side. I'm going to stick with 2 instead of 3. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and stitch them down. So I think a little bit of movement on these strawberries will be really cute. So I'm not going to sew them down super tightly. And then I think I'm going to attach these just at the stem. And it sticks together pretty well. And the black will hide the ink. In fact, I might go ahead and do what we did last time and just stitch the tops of these together. And it wouldn't be a bad thing if a little bit of gum arabic seeped out and like really glued them in as well. So I'll put a little extra in there. There we go. Alright, let's make one more quick pen wipe. This one is based off an original, so I just have 2 circles that are roughly 4 inches that are black. Put them together. And then I have 4 squares of wool that are, 2 of them are blue and 2 of them are brown. And I'm going to cut them into circles. And we're basically going to make it the same way that we made the squirrel one. So we'll start with this. We're going to fold it in half and fold it into quarters again. We're going to stick it on here and go through several times. We're going to iron that down just a little bit. Take the first blue one, do the same thing, do the next brownish one, and do the same with the last little blue one. So this pen wiper, you can put it in the folds, which I like to do, but you also have the option, since this is a double layer, to do it inside the black and then leave the pretty colors where they won't be spoiled. After a quick iron, it will stay a little flatter. If you're using wool and not wool felt, it'll probably stay flatter without the ironing. And then I'm going to take a quick little china button and we're going to sew it right in the middle to kind of hide where all my stitches have been. And of course you could do it where you had another set of the plain circles on top, which kind of like I had the crochet one on top. You can just do plain wool. Lots of different variations on the pinwheel. And again, pinwheel is my favorite type of pen wiper. Alright, and then we have another pen wiper. It's super cute. Alright, so here is the 1850s and 60s-ish box. Probably really use it for 1840s through 1860s. I bought it online a long time ago, so it just kind of fits up just like this. And you have a nice little box. So, let's go ahead and fill it. Start with paper. I'm going to stick this in here. Around 1857, 1858, gummed envelopes, kind of like we use today, really started kicking off, and sealing wax is no longer in use. About by that time, you'll still see both, like in the 1855, 1856, you'll see the gummed envelopes and the sealing wax, but post 1857, 1858, you really don't see sealing wax. So I'm going to have to modify this box for every event. So if I'm going to an 1840s or an early 1850s event, I can use a sealing wax. But if it's later or Civil War, I'm going to need to make sure all the sealing wax stuff is out, and I put the gummed envelopes in. So this is where I'm going to put the envelopes when they get here, A, and B, when I'm using them. So other than that, let's go ahead and fill this up as if I was doing an earlier impression. So I would probably put paper into both of these. I have a knife to kind of, I guess, carve my pencils. That can go in there. I have tapers, which I can document to at least 1850 using them. We kind of talked about that earlier. Got plenty of those in there. Letter opener. I have 2 pencils and 2 pens. And then I can put all my extra nibs here. Right here I have 2 things of matches. I just have little bags and little, cases of matches, and I put on a period-esque cover-ish to make it look better. Pencil sharpener because I'm lazy and I don't like to actually use the knife even though I have it. Here I think I'm going to keep this one, so it's going to go right here. It will go in here when I'm writing, but it's too tall, it won't close. So when it's not in use, it's going to have to go in the corner over here because it will close when it's in the corner. Sealing wax. I'm going to put a couple different colors in here. And I found some images of stamps online and I printed them out, cut them up, and put gummed water on the back so they will actually function as stamps. And I'm going to put them right in here. So yeah, there you go. The seal has not come in yet. I ordered a crystal one because it looked a lot like the originals I've been seeing, but essentially it's going to be the same size as Sarah's, so it can just fit right in here. Yeah, I'm definitely glad we got all this together and got it done. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video.